Hello guys. Alright, I want to take a look at the patch notes real fast. No room fortress in the game. I saw it being used a little bit on Nika's stream, but seems fine. It's also why I'm picking Mulan. I want to try it. Used to be one of those items that was kind of fun to use on Mulan, because that's kind of her whole thing, using 3 on them. Finally have Vamp's Route. Helm of Radiance buff is also cool. Might be able to use that on some characters now. They changed the font, which is also interesting. I feel like I might need beads, but if I don't have... I want to make sure I actually win lane, if I can. I'll just do this.
I am most grateful.
Let me make sure that I have my app available to me here, in case of server issues. Oh yeah, they updated the visual stuff on camps. That's so cool. It's so nice. And cozy now. Calm is kind of ass, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who's gonna end up carrying this, potentially. I don't know how good Berlin really is, but I assume he's just as bad as every other mage. Or at least like just mediocre as every other mage. Still think I'll do Erendite. At this point I probably have to, because I just, out of instinct, bought the usual start. But I guess I'll see how the lane goes. It feels so vibrant. It's almost kind of hurting my eyes. I mean, the fact that I got this much early on is kind of nice. I'll see if I can clear this fast and go for my packs. Should be able to get this pretty easily. I think I have the upper matchup here, now that we're level 3. Why is the thing so red? Everything's so colorful and blinding.
Enemy missing right. Cancel that.
An ally has been slain.
Terrifying.
Your left tower is under attack.
I definitely think I can allow myself to go Erendite first in this one. Tragic.
An enemy has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Okay.
Enemy missing right beats. Cancel that. Counter with a yes.
Slain an enemy.
I am not.
Run! I'm so lucky. Go, minions! I should have died there so much, man. There's absolutely no way I should have been alive. I wanted to greet this so badly, because I needed only 100 gold if Aaron died. But if I die to a Thralled, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm just gonna back.
Your right tower is under attack. An ally has been slain.
I
Your
missed a
right
few
tower
creeps.
is under attack.
Unfortunately.
Your left tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
Damn. If I had Aaron died, I actually would have been just fine. If they get Rama here, it's not too bad, at least.
An enemy has been slain. Your right tower is under attack.
As cunning as a fox.
Do I just go... I think I'll just do this first anyway. I'll just go Mystical Mail. That's such a bad time to die though, I lost so much of the wave here. This is not a matchup I want to fall behind in. It's gonna be real fucking difficult. Just in general, honestly, as Mulan falling behind.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy missing right.
An ally has been slain. Enemy ultimate down. An enemy has been slain.
Ain't no way I'm chasing that. If I did catch up, I do have Aaron died, but and really risk falling further behind if I don't get anything out of it.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing right.
Thor is such a big XP lead on me now.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, I just rushed Mystic Camille as well. Interesting. He also seems to be leveling the hammer first. He's definitely building this weird.
Has been slain.
But he's also building in a way that I won't be able to win as Mulan.
You're as solid as a
Enemy missing middle.
Very well.
All right.
You deserve some
Enemy
credit.
incoming right.
Yes.
I just need to sit back, because apparently Gip is going to be here too, again. I already wish I went Beats or Aegis instead of Sunder.
An enemy has been slain.
Terrifying.
What a surprise. Gip's here.
Your right tower is under attack.
Enemies in right leg.
Enemy missing left.
Guys. How many times is Gip gonna be here without any help? It's getting a bit ridiculous now, because we could just kill them for it so easily, with a single rotation.
An enemy has been slain. Your right tower is under attack.
I mean, there's definitely Mulan's weakness, not having a whole lot of mobility.
Your right tower is under attack.
But even with the help from Aaron died there, it doesn't even matter.
An ally has been slain.
Oh, what a surprise. Thor can now rotate and shit on my team instead, because literally no one is in range. What a fucking surprise. Should have seen that coming.
Been slain. Your left tower is under attack. enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Mulan is definitely shit, but this game has been kind of tragic so far.
Your left tower is under attack. An enemy has been slain.
Shouldn't even fight him, honestly.
Tower is under attack.
I'm just gonna get out rotated.
Killing spree.
Middle lane. Enemy missing right.
An ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack.
It just feels like a huge support difference at the moment. Like, Gip is just everywhere, helping out. I don't know what the fuck's like Odin's running around doing.
Your middle tower is under attack. Killing spree. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. Killing spree.
I'll take the trade.
Down. Your right tower.
Alright,
is
at least
under
now I
attack.
can actually fight. Now that I also have protection.
Your right tower is under attack.
Wait, it doesn't actually... It doesn't have protection, right?
Your left tower is under
Oh, I should have just gone for this instead of Erendite on Mulan for sure.
Your
Whoops.
right tower is under attack.
Hello, Nate. Good to see you.
Shut down.
Be careful, left. Follow me.
No, this is my first game. I haven't really seen anything of Merlin.
Your left
Been
tower
pretty busy
is
today.
under attack.
Oh, this kind of sucks, but I'm gonna TP.
Shut down.
See if I can grab Rama. I can definitely kill Rama if I get there.
Attack the fire giant.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy missing left.
My condolences.
Damn. I was really hoping for that kill.
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
And we're still losing to Thor in the back. I hate this. I hate this so much.
Ah, yes. I have read about this artifact. I will make good use.
Damn, Gabe also just showed up again at the worst possible time.
Enemies at the fire.
Your middle tower is under attack.
This is just such an unfun game. Like, I was winning lane super hard, but then the fucking support starts rotating. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about that? Especially as Mulan, I can't really get away from it. While literally getting zero help. They dove me twice. Once to my tier 2. Like, what the fuck is happening in this game? People just refuse to help solo sometimes. It's actually insane. One single rotation will kill both of them. I mean, we can't even kill Thor. It's actually impossible for some reason.
Is under attack.
We don't have any damage.
Your right tower has been destroyed. Your middle tower is under attack. destroyed. Your middle phoenix has been destroyed. Your Titan is under attack. Killing spree.
Be your weapon.
Your middle phoenix has been destroyed.
I'm also not sure how Mordred is not being further behind than me after everything that's happened to me. My dude's level 13. I just wanted a chill Mulan game. But no.
The enemy team has
No, said my
destroyed the Gold
teammates.
Fury.
Don't do that.
The Pyro has arrived.
Okay.
Until next time. Is mine. Ours.
Just gonna chase for a while.
Ours.
Your left
I'll die eventually for sure, but
enemy team has destroyed the Pyramid. Killing spree.
guess I should always just... I'm trying to think how to build in this patch now. If you still think Erendite is worth it, or you should just always go into like Runeforged. Because Runeforged is still pretty nice damage, but you don't get protection. But if you have both, it feels like you're too squishy. Hello, Okami, good to see you. Is it the Ares bug? No, I haven't seen any. I haven't seen anything of this patch outside of this game. Like I've just been busy today.
Your left tower is under attack. Killing spree. Your Titan is under attack. An ally has been slain. Your left tower is under attack.
Man, my bird just don't have any cooldowns in this one.
Your Titan is under attack.
Double did you have shell? What the fuck was that? What? Oh, it's his shell. It's double shell down. Or rather, shield and shell, I should
Your
say.
Titan is under attack.
Infinite HP 5? That sounds pretty crazy. I would hope that Ares is taken out of the game or somehow fixed. Because that sounds pretty bad. Alright. Let's do another one. I guess I can't play Mulan because I just didn't get any help from the team here. When I'm getting dove by the support at like fucking 6 minutes in solo. He was disabled? Okay. Yeah, no, if it's game breaking, usually Okami, they either take the god out or they hotfix it super fast. Because it's something that straight up makes the game unplayable. And that's a pretty big one, so... An unkillable Ares does not sound like a good and fun experience for anyone. Except for the Ares. He might enjoy it. Yeah, he's currently disabled, let's see. Well, he's still in the game here, but I suppose he's going to be disabled in an actual game. Yeah, I think the difference with Zeus was they didn't realize it was a bug because they had just buffed Chain Lightning. So at the time, I don't think they actually knew it was glitched. It was doing way more damage than expected, but they got confused as he had just got buffed. So he was supposed to be doing a lot of damage with Chain Lightning, but apparently there was more to it. People figured it out pretty fast though, that this was not intended. Still though, he remained kind of OP for a while. I actually want to play Mulan, but she's so bad. Her kit just feels terrible. She doesn't do enough damage. Her 3 feels weird. Her ultimate feels like every time you use it, you just die instead. I don't know what it is with Mulan. It's unfortunate. Like, she is probably the worst god in the game. I'm pretty sure every other god is at least playable. From what I'm like, Bacchus is kind of bad, but he's still very playable. Yeah, I mean, looking at every other god in the list. I also think Rama is pretty fucking bad, but you can still play him. He will still do stuff if you hit autos. Mulan feels like she's like actual dog shit. Oh well. Will I keep playing her? Probably not until they fix her, I think, in some way. She just feels really bad to play. Like, I can win the early game, and you can definitely win, like, laning phase, I think. She's not that bad in a 1v1 until you start losing, because then you also cannot get away. So, Mulan is just... You need to win the lane, otherwise you're just fucked, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Some gods will be bad for a while, and then they get overbuffed, and then they're broken. Like, Mulan is one of those gods that when she's OP, she's really OP. Because her kit is incredibly good for snowballing. But her kit is terrible at running away. She cannot get away. And right now we're in a meta where people are running Erendite as well as Stampede. She ain't getting away. She could do the same thing, but still. If everyone has it, then no one has it, you know? They just don't know what to play. Like, this patch didn't really add anything for me. Next up is going to be Cerberus, and it's going to be fun. I enjoy Cerberus quite a bit. But who knows when that's going to be. I don't give a shit about Merlin. He's one of my least favorite mages to play. So it doesn't really do anything for me. Yeah, that's what I just said as well, Nate. I feel like that the 2 just doesn't do enough damage, it feels like, and the 3 feels kind of bad. That's, I agree with it. I'm gonna snack a bit as well. I haven't eaten a whole lot today. I kind of fucked up my dinner too. I overcooked it. And it did not taste very good. So I didn't eat that much of it. Hey Pinky, thank you for the raid, man. Don't gank me in soul so early as support. That shit sucks. I couldn't do anything about it as Mulan. But thank you for the raid, man. Hey Jack, good to see you. It's been a while. I see you've been playing a bunch of other shit. Get in the queue, man. I mean, at this point, it takes too long. I'm just gonna put on my queue game, I guess. I say that as my queue bombs. Oh well. Hello, Pinky. Thank you for the raid, man. Alright. No more Mulan. She still sucks. Yeah, you would hate the current meta, Jack. Mages were really OP for a little while, but now they're bad again. Now they're bad again. Merlin just came out though, but because mages are bad, that doesn't matter.
Select your god.
I mean, mages are fine, like they're alright, but they're generally on the bad scale. At the moment. Both Sobek and Cabrakan are open. Do you want to try hard this game? I don't know. I guess so. I don't want to deal with Cabrakan, I can't be asked to do it. I'll just pick it. The fuck? I'm on a conveyor belt. I see how it is. I get it. Did they touch Jingwei, by the way? It's the second time people picking Jingwei. I feel like she was never picked before. I forgot if they buffed her. Shit. Did they buff her? Okay. Let's see. Gunter. Well, I mean, I suppose we'll find out if Merlin is good based on Gunter here. Let's see how he performs. Do I want beats this game? They have pretty heavy CC comp. With Thor, Hurricane Bacchus. Is Vamshroud any good? Do we know? I mean, it definitely seems pretty good on someone like Cabrakan. I might just stay with Bluestone for now, until I have a better idea.
Food.
Man, I hope they just add
Minions
Vamana
have
soon.
spawned.
I need it, man. Give me Wukong and Vamana. And Apollo. Then I'll be happy. It's an instant pause on pause. Probably a mistake, but I don't know why. Maybe because Solo is missing.
Enemy missing
No,
left.
The
there he
support's
is.
not here, by the way.
Enemy missing right. Enemy missing middle. Here I come. First, enemy missing middle.
He was just kind of confused, I guess. Oh, it's Bitch and the Bacchus. That's why. Probably did speed them.
Bacchus still isn't here, by the way, and he's level 2.
This guy really want a box.
You have slain an enemy. Rank 3. Batter up. Here I come. Killing spree. Out of here. It's not that bad.
Had to take the box.
Goat Hunter.
Good game. Enemy missing
I'm
middle.
fed.
Your right tower is under attack.
Yeah, they kind of ran into me there, it felt like. Thor really wants to fight, but he really shouldn't. Not yet. I guess Cabrakan having 2 abilities and, you know, in one basically. On the 2 this early is super useful.
By the way, report this Bacchus after, because he's actually griefing the team, and griefing the Jingwei watching a die and shit.
Has been slain.
It's Bitch. It's to be expected.
What, is that a known guy?
Yeah.
I'm still reporting him, because, yeah. I think we should definitely report him, though, because, like, this Jingwei is completely getting griefed.
You have slain an enemy.
I mean, Bitch is probably
Careful,
banned on
right?
his main.
Merlin coming.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was an ult. He definitely does weird shit a lot of the time when he plays. He's a good player too, that's the worst part. And he can be pretty funny, but I can imagine him being up to some weird griefing stuff when there are no big players in the match. I doubt he's actually griefing, like he just always plays like this. He's a very big bitch to do this. He never starts in lane and shit like that. Like if he's solo, he's gonna, if he dies like once or twice in solo and he's not able to control the lane, he just rotates and never comes back. He just starts killing dual lanes and shit. The worst part is a lot of people don't know how to deal with it in just a normal rank game, and so they just get shit on because suddenly they're like outmanned. I've lost to Bitch so many times in Smite 1, it is absolutely insane. He always does it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it does feel like griefing, if it doesn't. I'm gonna die to this. I don't want to stick around.
Enemy spotted.
He almost baited me there. I wanted to just go on him, but if I did, he would have ult
Oh,
and jump and
doesn't
shoot
need
up.
to be here.
Enemy missing. Attack.
Attack.
An enemy has been slain.
Surely, Runeforged is pretty good on Cabrakan, right? This dude's all about CC. Does it actually work on every single CC though? How actually does it work?
Enemy missing.
Flying hard control.
Enemy missing.
An enemy has been slain.
I mean, that is really good on Cabrakan. It's like it's made for him. Hello, Icos. Good to see you. Still got my ult. I guess I can gank the duo.
I don't have ult for him.
No, I probably shouldn't gank duo.
Enemy missing middle.
Killing spree.
Be careful left.
Don't think I can really get anything out of it, to be honest. I'll just rotate and not get anything.
An enemy has been slain. Killing spree.
It's poor Thor. On paper, that is a good play. You locked me in the tower. Just too far behind to survive Susano showing up.
Double kill.
Oh, I'm just gonna get enough gold for this.
An enemy has been slain.
I mean, surely they surrender at 10. Unless they just have 7. $400 HP also feels like it's a lot.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury. An enemy has been slain.
How would you approach how that's happening? You mean like just the Bacchus running around doing whatever?
You have slain an enemy.
Not really much to do about it. Like, it's gonna happen in ranked from time to time.
On my way.
But if you mean in actual, like, strategically, what would I do if suddenly someone else from another lane would start rotating and just be annoying, just keep a lookout, because you can't just let them. You can't let him just control how you want to control your lane. Like if I'm getting really fed, I don't want to make sure that he. I still want to make sure that I'm taking the lead that I should be getting. Okay. Oh well.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Like I don't want to get denied, you know. No, oh Thor, you little shit.
Your middle tower is under attack.
That's too bad.
Unstoppable.
I don't want to make sure that I want to make sure that if someone starts rotating, maybe like it's probably just warding is the best way to do it. Generally, if someone's being annoying and rotating around, like knowing why they are is obviously the biggest advantage. But like realistically, communication, and the best way to communicate in ranked and stuff is generally just wards. It's the same thing, but if there's like a really fed jungler, like if I'm winning my lane and the jungler is getting really fed, it's very worth buying wards. Same thing in duo. If you're getting fed in duo, stop buying wards. Now you can afford them, and you should just buy wards. Because if that guy shows up, you're probably dead. Or, I mean, if you think you can take the fight, you can also just not buy wards, but... There's just a lot of factors that go into it. I'm assuming they're just F7ing at this point.
Enemy missing middle.
Because otherwise I'm pretty sure they would have surrendered.
Enemy spotted. Enemy missing. Gank. Enemy missing. Enemy missing.
Immortal.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what's happening in this one. I just want to get out of this one. With my short time today, this is not what I want to be doing. I want to play an actual game.
An enemy has been slain.
Tactical fury.
Honestly, don't even hit this. Look how bullshit this is. I'll literally one-shot it.
Okay. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
And what is even that?
An enemy has been slain.
Great, that looks real fun. Can't wait for this meta.
Yeah, literally. The first Gold Fury I soloed in about 5 seconds. If you look at this build, on any hybrid hunter, it's ridiculous.
No, I'm too slow for this. Come back, Wolven. Wellman. I don't know how to say his name. I'm pretty sure we had this meta not long ago. Where people built this shit and they did objectives in seconds. We're back to this? We're doing it again?
Do you reckon we can just do FG? I wonder how much damage I do to it.
I think we can, yeah. That build is just nasty. And we're just really fed. I think we can do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I want to get Pyro first. So.
I'll back and TP to my tower. I'll just build whatever at this point. I'll still go Erendite. It's a bit late, but I don't think it matters at this point. Herc behind you
Your
guys.
team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
I don't think they should have nerfed the HP of these objectives, to be honest.
Yeah, same. I thought it was fine. Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's just stupid. This meta is gonna be so...
Tower is under attack.
I mean, it's gonna be really, really boring against really good teams. Because they will just snowball super fucking hard.
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Your left tower is under attack. Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower. Your right tower is under attack. Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower. Your right tower is under attack.
Or we should just try and end. Probably could.
Right lane! Attack right lane!
Well, they're still trying to defend it, so...
An enemy has been slain. Double kill.
GG, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Victory.
I'm sorry, bitch, but Nani the fuck was this? I'm sorry, man. That's kind of it's kind of a weird one. Is it new hunter M that is causing it? No, it's just it's Sunbeam Bow. It's been a thing for a while. It's just that every objective has been nerfed by quite a bit. So now you can just do it even faster than before. So you just kind of go back to building an old item that was... It's not that it was bad, or ever was bad. What did Bip do? He just super griefed this one. I mean, Thor tried, but he was just not on this level, I would say. Like, he just shouldn't have been in this game at all. Bip just did his usual Bip thing, but Bip's thing is really bad if it's not going his way. Then it just feels like super griefing. There's a reason why this dude has been suspended and banned quite a few times. It's because of the way he plays the game. It's not going to work every time, and unfortunately it really feels like griefing when it doesn't. And I wouldn't want that on my team either. This was kind of criminal. Yeah, it's Bip bitch. Like, he's not even that bad of a player. He played Smite 1 as well, and he legitimately dominates some games, and he's really good on Fenrir. But right now he seems to really like Bacchus, and it's not going well for him. He's going for the aspect, and he's just going for this stuff. He just tries to kill you. And sometimes that will work. But if it doesn't, as I already said, it feels like he's grieving you. He is good. Like, to everyone's potential surprise, Bip is pretty good. I don't think he grieves on purpose. Like, he just... That's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like he is griefing if it doesn't work out in the way that he plays. I'll give him a report for this one, because I don't think you should be playing like this. Like, it kind of fucks everyone else, and especially duo lane. But I also like having Bip on my team, to be honest. Very rarely does Bip do bad on my team. And he's probably one of the best players I've seen to take advantage of snowballing. Granted, mainly on something like Fenrir. I think on the Bacchus it's not going to be the same thing. Bacchus is too slow for what he wants to do. He's going to do really well in shit like Hercules and Fenrir. Not Bacchus. Oh my god, it's like, what's this fucking gravity field? Some shit. Do I need to be faster then? Yeah, I need to be fast. No, it just went flying. Damn. Alright. I think I know what to expect from these maps now. Ah, okay. Guess I need my double jump to really do that. Oh my god, so far down. Oh, it's the goal down here. Interesting. Cool. That's death. Okay, where the hell do I go then? I missed it. I see. Okay. It's kind of a trippy map. I feel like I'm watching one of those, like, eye exercises on YouTube when I'm doing this. Shit. Like, follow the dot and it starts spinning and all sorts of weird shit. Like, what do you mean? Can't fucking follow the dot and all that fucking chaos. How the fuck am I gonna reach? Do I just sit on the truck? Nope. That definitely not work. Yeah, I can imagine if people get easily motion sick, I could definitely imagine that. Oh my god, how do I make that? I feel like I'm missing something. I do have my time slow actually, which I probably should be using a lot more. I got a truck in my ass. Then I'm not making it. I made it. Surely I won't die now. I almost died. Alright, good. Yeah, I thought about trying to get on the back of a truck. It just felt like it wasn't the intended way. Missiles! What the fuck? Oh my god, there are missiles in this one. Different kind of gravity, I guess. Wait, someone's trying to trade me. Hell no. I don't want a jungle. Oh, he's the same guy as before. Let me remove this while we do picks and bans. No man, I don't want to play anything other than solo. I really don't. What the hell do I pick here then?
Your god.
guess it's just a Thor game. Again. I was thinking about Croc. I was. No, I'm actually thinking I kind of want to play Thor. I feel like playing Thor after seeing what the guy did in my game in the last one. And into Bracken, I kind of want something that has a bit more mobility. I don't want to be walled off and need to ult, I guess. I'll just hammer away from it. And I want to try Thor with the new items as well. I don't think Runeforge is going to be as satisfying on someone like Sopic as it will be on Bracken and Thor. That was close. Ah, someone dodged. Shit. Oh, that was short. Oh my, so many missiles now. The screen shake. I'm too fast. I was trying to land. Oh. This one is kind of unpredictable. I don't know where the trucks are ever, because they're just getting yeeted by missiles. I made a mistake! Can't go further. Didn't expect such a big jump. Oh my god, that landed right in front of me. That is actually true. I mean, I think it's good you can't get any more than 3 actives, because the bullshit people could fucking pull off with 5 actives or some bullshit would be crazy. I don't need Murden on someone who has a silence. Like, give that shit to Hades. You buy Ansile. Damn, I just got missiled. You buy fucking Ansile or whatever it's called, and Gargoyle on top of Hades already having that, and you just go rest. You just go full cooldown, so you can use the fear again. So you can get hit by 4 fears in a row. If that was the case, Hades support might be decent. Man, I'm just gonna bank a Bracken. I don't want to fucking deal with it. I don't think I could learn 5 actives. Like, at all. I'm struggling with 3.
Select your god.
Now, what do I pick? I may have first pick, but I don't want to play anything. The world is my oyster. But I have nothing. I'll do a Croc game then. Sure, fuck it. Just a bit the Sobic. Let me make it. I somehow made it. I'm not even sure how. Oh, I was trying to land on that fucking truck that was falling, and it just hit the wall. Let's go to Kami. I usually don't play that much Soap again ranked, just because I think he's very slow. Like, even if you push a lead on Sopek, invading and stuff like that still isn't something he's that good at. Because he just kills things very slow. He's hard to push a lead with. But he's definitely not bad in solo. I think he is... I don't know if I think he's top 2 anymore, but... I do think he is up there. That's just being a really safe solo. It's probably one of the safest solos. But I do think Cabrakan is the best. Cabrak and Thor, I think, are pretty much the best solos at the moment. What? My double jump barely did anything there. Oh, my... Okay, maybe that's a gravity thing. My double jump is not good in that specific area. Oh, no, I see what it is. The bridge is fucking rising. That was why. Am I going up? No. No, I'm very much going down, it seems. Again. Goal! Oh. Up I go. Oh, okay. I thought I had my double jump, I guess I didn't. Must have pressed space somewhere. I do like how the trunks are still honking. Brother, why are you even here? Like, go home to your family. What are you doing? Seems like a bad idea, man. Where the fuck am I going? Down? Goal! Not goal. I am sorry, you guys didn't even see what... Oh, man. My bad, guys. I was just playing without you guys even seeing it. It's gonna happen eventually.
Greetings, adoring fans.
Susano is playable, is
I
he?
am everyone's favorite hero.
That's good. It's not good for me, but it's good for the Susano players. I'm happy for you. Do I try Vamp Shroud on Sopek? I think I will.
Enjoy
Let's do
and
that.
have fun.
Minions have spawned. Attack!
Enemy missing middle.
Enemy spotted.
I'm not really a huge fan of how this Susano skin looks, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely a cool idea. I like the concept of, you know, the whole being able to swap colors on the skin. I just don't really like how it looks. missed an extra creep. I'm not sure she did. He's taking mine. I'll do his.
Enemy missing left.
Be careful.
I'll attack left foot on my way.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Be careful.
I definitely do less damage. That is a result of Vamp Shroud. Conduit is definitely very good early on for so big for his extra clear. I'm not actually one-shotting them now. This feels pretty bad.
My condolence.
Enemy missing.
First blood. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
It's fine. This helps both of us. So far, I do not like Vamp Shroud on Sobek. Feels really bad for clear. When his clear is already kind of bad.
An ally has been slain.
Drop it.
Your middle tower is under attack. An enemy has been slain. Completed.
That does suck. The one creep that I missed means I don't get level 5 on that wave. I'll take beats.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing. Attack.
Enemy missing middle.
He doesn't have Sunder, so...
An enemy has been slain. Your right tower is under attack.
I mean, he just did my blue for me. I'm okay with that. Whoops. Damn, that was really bad.
Your right tower is under attack.
Did not think he could just zero me like that.
Okay.
Otherwise I wouldn't have blocked. That's actually insane how he could kill me with that.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemies have returned to base.
I'm not too sure what they've done to Sobek.
Under attack.
I haven't played him much lately. It's been kind of bad in solo. Cause, well, I mean, every tank has been bad in solo for the longest time. I do think so far Conduit feels the best on Sobek, just for his early game clear.
Enemy
Not being able to one-shot the wave in Smite 2 feels terrible. You can barely even do anything in lane if you don't.
Be careful, middle.
Enemy missing right. Gank middle lane.
Didn't mean to go for the double there. I just kind of
Your right tower is under attack.
I kind of kill steal twice, but I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure they died. The first one was not intended. On Loki there, I definitely wanted to make sure that he went down. Also, that is a Loki mid, or what? No, it isn't. It was just a mid. Damn, now I have 2 levels on him?
Star of the show.
Forget it. Be right back.
Be careful, left enemy missing middle.
Once I have Mystic Humil, I should start winning this matchup a bit more. Just gotta back for it, eventually.
Cancel that.
Do not.
Be careful, right?
On my way.
On my way. Attack!
Hit me.
Your middle tower is under attack.
To the death. Careful.
Ultimate is down.
It's a very good gank from Susano.
An enemy has been slain.
I do have my Sunder up, so I'll just take this as well. Yeah, no worries, Akami. You don't need to stay for my sake. Don't you worry about it.
On my way.
Left lane.
Oh, I still need to back. I gotta get this Mystic Mill online. Thank you, Pinda.
Careful, left.
Picking up the mantle there. True hero.
Killing spree.
Enemy missing right.
Retreat!
Enemies have returned to base.
Retreat.
Retreat!
Killing
You're
spree.
the star of the show.
As cunning as a fox.
Do not worry.
Your left tower
I'll try
is under
this.
attack.
I don't see why not. Like, I do have CC on Sobek. Might as well.
The enemy team has destroyed the gold
I have an
fury.
easy way to proc it.
On my way.
Attack middle lane. Wait. Wait. Attack.
On my way.
Your left tower is under attack. An enemy has been slain.
The star of the show.
That should be fine. I should still get him.
Double kill. Rampage. Killing spree.
I'm impressed.
Just kind of lucky for me, like finding him there. Probably didn't have an ult because it's just bot. Gets red buff as well.
Has arrived. Destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Yeah, new Rufo seems pretty nice. It doesn't really seem broken either to me. It just seems good. Okay, he's not even going for it.
Be right back.
That
Your
sucks.
left tower is under attack.
Retreat! On my way.
Gang. An enemy has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing.
I do think with this little patch, Sobek has kind of gotten worse in solo as well. Because when you get to objectives so fast, being able to rotate really fast is very important, and for that you need clear. I will say even this game has kind of taught me that.
An enemy
I could really use some faster rotation power.
is a rock.
Excitement.
Okay. That's alright, I'm not sure I could catch up anyway.
Enemy missing right.
Shut down. An ally has been slain. Shut down.
To the death.
An ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
Be careful, middle.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyro. Your middle tower is under attack.
Might still have him. Nope. Thought didn't get him.
Shut down.
That's so annoying, man. That we lost that fight as much as we did. I need cooldown. My cooldown is pretty fucking shit. Oh well. Yeah, I think Sobek is just not gonna be. He's just gonna be underperforming a lot. He's definitely not a soul laner anymore. I think after this patch. If I was playing like any other of the big scalers in this one, I would have been in such a good position. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Oh, still got him.
Attack!
Well done on your mojo there.
Cancel that. Enemy missing middle.
Runs.
No, I'm just out of range.
Slain an enemy.
I could definitely do a lot more on some characters. Like Sobek is still just this unkillable motherfucker running around, but I just don't think that's as good unless you can also kill, which is, you know, that's just Cabrakan at the moment.
On my way. Catch you later, amateur.
An ally has been slain.
Sobek just does not do enough damage to really make this work. He's still a good support though. He's probably still one of the best supports. Arguably the best support, honestly. Up there with Ymir. But yeah. I think I'll take the loss and simply say Sylvia is not that good in this meta.
Attack left lane.
Enemy missing.
Defend the Gold Fury.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. On my way.
Attack. Retreat. Enemy ultimate incoming.
Enemies at the fire giant.
They're definitely on fire.
The Gold Fury.
I'll defend the fire giant.
No, put on us here, I don't think there. I do not know why we're diving that hard when we could just turn. That was really bad. This might be fire for them though. What a horrible dive. I'm gonna get beats. I need it so badly. A lot of our kills also has gone to Umoja. Which is not really that good either.
Enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
No, I can't say shit.
The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack.
Damn, even the Naga has less health. That thing has no health now.
Enemy spotted.
Attack left lane.
Ultimate is ready.
Enemy missing.
Like, I'm so fed, but I feel like it barely matters because I'm playing Sobek. Like, give me any of the warriors right now, and I could really use those to my advantage.
An ally has been slain. Chase the enemy. Good game. An ally has been slain. Double kill.
Group up.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed. Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
Okay.
Your right tower is under attack.
Yeah, I didn't want to sunder it. I kind of wanted, in case we went there, we'd go fire. We're hitting me for 400. And the disarm fucked us. Hmm. Oh my god, this chat. How is this chat still broken, man? It's been like 3 patches.
The enemy team has destroyed the fire giant. Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower has been destroyed.
Let's do a stampede. See if I can somehow help out my team a bit more.
Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower has been destroyed. Your middle tower is under attack.
It's alright, I'll take his ult. If he doesn't have that for sieging, I think that's good.
Defend!
It really sucks that how we could not do any damage to him while he was blocked. That should have been free.
Your right phoenix is under attack.
I have so much health, man. I just realized how much health I have, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't fucking matter, man.
An ally has been slain. Your right phoenix is under attack. You have been
Oh.
slain.
I got Merlin at least.
Your right phoenix is under attack.
Hit your autos, man.
Ally has been slain.
What was that? Did he just lag out? That was weird. He might have just lagged out. Something strange happened there. Hello, Rage. Not even sure what's a build for my last item. Maybe I just go for Erendite as well.
Enemy team has destroyed the gold fury.
Just do the thing, buy Erendite.
Don't bro me, I don't give a fuck.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Because I'm noob, I'm hunting 3 people on my arse this entire game and you're nowhere. watch yourself, bro.
An enemy has been slain.
My guy unfortunately died trying to keyboard warrior. It's not worth it, man. Who cares?
Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm glad they nerfed some minions at least.
Your left Phoenix is under attack. Your left Phoenix has been destroyed.
We still lost left Phoenix? That is crazy.
Shut down. Your Titan is under attack.
We lost every Phoenix. I don't even fully want to blame my team for this. Like, we're definitely not playing great, and there is zero follow-up in these plugs a lot of the time. But at the same time, it feels so useless playing Sopic. I don't do any fucking damage. But you know what? What are we against? We'll do Glad Shield, do a bit more damage. Hope for the best. Can't play with Yana. Yeah, I mean, she's probably doing fine, right? I don't know Yana Rasi very well, but I don't know. She might just be tired of dealing with people like this Susano, who blames her for building stuff. Granted, I don't think you can go protection on Nuwa either way, but I understand the logic of it. I've been there. I think, honestly, it's not so much the protection, but more like the item. Like, Ansile into 4 physical is probably more the problem I'm seeing.
Enemy team has destroyed the fire giant.
I also forgot to upgrade my starter. I completely fucking forgot. I don't think this matters a whole lot for me on Sopic anyway, but
Your
still.
right Phoenix is under attack. Killing spree.
No, man, I didn't get any of my axes off in time. My beats were up in 7 seconds.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been
Nice. This is actually looking kind of good. I already see just free casting this fight. Unfortunate, but that's fine. If we can just get our Phoenixes back up, we might actually be in a good spot. Maybe that's a chance. Dare I hope. She should get up. Oh, she's fine. Nice. I mean, I think we're defending then. Maybe.
Your right Phoenix is under attack.
I'm actually Gunplay, execute. I think 2 kills for that could potentially be worth it, depending on what we do with it.
On my way.
Be careful.
Oh, I'm sad.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury. An ally has been slain. Killing spree. Shut down. An ally has been slain. Defend the Titan.
I'm just struggling. I do -5 damage. But, it doesn't matter. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. I can't do anything.
Defend right lane. Ho, ho, ho.
Your left Phoenix is under attack.
I wish I was playing something different! I could actually do something if I was playing something different. I hate it. I just don't do
Titan
anything.
is under attack.
Attack.
Just can't defend Phoenixes at all. Alright, that's good though.
Attack fire
The
giant.
front line is down.
Your Titan is under attack.
Dude, Titan is getting destroyed. My god. Toa. I don't know what he's hearing, but he doesn't like it. Toa, stop.
Follow me.
Don't die, team.
Killing spree.
Oh, man.
Coming as a
Victory's in.
Oh well. It sucks now that Emoji died with me. Like, me dying by myself would have been fine. If she dies? I think she does.
ally has been slain.
It's a weird fucking game. Like, we're just barely hanging on. Don't die, man. Whatever. I don't want to start saying something now. It's too fucking late anyway.
Is under attack. Your middle Phoenix has been
I
destroyed.
did go Rune Forged, but I'm probably gonna sell that shit now. I should have had probably banned off Discord this game, I think.
Your Titan is under attack. Your right
That's game.
Phoenix is under attack. Deicide.
don't think this is on me for playing so big. Like, I don't really think we did a whole lot with the lead we had. I think we could have just forced more gold or even fires when we had the chance to. There's just not really any calls for it. But I really do wish I didn't play so big in this one. Alright, I'm gonna do one last. Then that's gonna have to be it for me for today. It was interesting seeing Merlin though. But it was a bit tough also just seeing how... I feel like he wasn't a problem. Or wouldn't have been a problem if that was follow-up and plugs. Because I got a lot of big plugs on him. He just didn't really die with them. He seems fine though. He seems like Merlin. What a surprise. Merlin is just Merlin. Did they even add any +1s to his kit? The aspect seems interesting, but I don't know if they added something to his base. Oh, that was bad. Okay, my... that was annoying. My, what's it called? My security just popped up on my PC. Pausing my game. Oh, his 3 has added benefits. Okay, but nothing like huge. Like nothing that really affects his gameplay. Right, so where the hell do I go with this? There's trucks over there. Oh yeah, never mind. I actually know. It's down here, right? Yeah, okay. I'm also banning. Again. I'm banning too much today. I don't like it. I want to pick something further down. I don't have anything I want to first pick. I love first pick if I have something I want. Three does something different depending on the stance. It's interesting. It's interesting. Is it just passive effects? Oh, my back fucking hurts today. Like, who do I even ban? I guess I ban Bari still. I don't know what else to ban. Void heals you, ice reduces current city, fire applies fire to basic attacks. That's interesting, yeah.
Your god.
Mulan, or not Mulan. Merlin ADC, potentially. That could be interesting. You go the aspect and then build him as an ADC. Wouldn't that be alright? Probably not. He doesn't really have a good kit for an ADC, I feel like, but still. I'll do a Hades game. Aphrodite was open. No. Shit. I forgot about that one. Nasty business. I went too fast. Oh my god. Okay, that's just the goal then. I went so fast. Oh my. Whoops. Accidentally tapped out. Dude, how? How am I even gonna do this? No, they all died as I jumped to them. Shit. It's a patience one. I can't just go. I gotta stay still. Okay. Unless they'll explode. Don't betray me, truck. You can do this. Oh. It could not. Oh, wait a second. I see. There's a hole in the middle of those. Ages for me in this one, I think.
No. Curses!
Vamps Shroud Hades, though. No, I don't think. Conduit is just way too nice for early Hades.
You have morbid taste.
Vamp Shroud so big was definitely also not the play. That might have been one of the reasons why I struggled more than I should have. Because that was not good. Dude, Rage. This feels a bit unfair. Don't you have like 7,000 elo? SR? Why are you here? And why am I on here? Why was I first pick? I have 5k. Or like 5.1 or some shit. I guess it doesn't matter once you've reached like top, I suppose. W beer, thank you, man. I do my best. Which is kind of nothing.
Minions have spawned.
She lost 9 games in a row. Fair enough. I hope this is your 10th loss then. For my sake. But I do hope you win. But most of all, may we have fun. I've had too many Mojo Jungles in my games today, and I've only played like 3 games. Well, whatever the case, whatever I'm against isn't here. Hello? It's probably just soloing blue then.
Enemy missing left.
My dude lost the full wave, so if I lose this lane, I don't know what to say.
First blood.
Enemy missing left. Enemy missing left.
What is happening? Hello? Bacchus? I can't get a normal game today.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I don't know. My opponent is missing. Which in reality is pretty good for me, because I'm just getting a bunch of farm.
Been slain.
As Hades. But it's really boring.
Enemy missing.
I don't think Bacchus is playing either, Pinda, if I had to guess.
Enemy missing.
I mean, I do not have time for another game, so
Right lane.
On my
this kind of sucks. It's very unsatisfying.
way. Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy missing middle. Enemy missing middle.
Eternally by my side.
Enemy missing middle.
Like, my 2 wins today have basically been free wins.
Afraid your outlook is terminal.
Ah, I missed my auto. Oh, still lived.
Enemies in the left lane. Battle isn't over yet.
I didn't think Loki was gonna be with the level 3 Aphrodite. Oh, didn't do my blue.
Gank on my way. Gank. Have slain an enemy. Enemy missing middle.
I don't know why Bacchus is AFK. I've seen the name a few times, the Bacchus's name, but like every game he's tried. So, I don't know. I thought it was just like a name swap of someone that usually just played ranked, because he wasn't bad.
Attack right lane.
I don't know if he just has beef with someone on the enemy team.
Gank. Enemy missing middle. An enemy has been slain.
I do feel a bit scummy for this though. Just gank the guy playing Aphrodite, supposedly support, who came to solo to cover. But well. Same stand as I had in the Cabracken game earlier today. If we have people trolling in the game, I'd rather just get out and play another one. Even if this is my last game, I would rather just not play it then. It's not really fun. It's not really fun for them either, I imagine.
Your middle tower is under attack. An ally has been slain.
On my way. On my way.
Double kill. Killing spree. Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, excuse me, my mistake.
An enemy has been slain. Middle. Enemy missing middle.
Seems like he is just zoning. A little bit, maybe?
Down.
No, I actually didn't.
An ally has been slain. Double kill. Rampage. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
What's the block is? He's called Boost Me Baby. I've seen him in a few of my games, where he did try playing the game. Not just a few, actually. Like, I recognize the name now, which means he's been pretty decent amount of my games. This is the first time I've seen this.
An enemy has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. Unstoppable. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. Enemy ultimate down. Your
Don't want to
middle
just dash
tower
him in
is
case
under
Loki's
attack.
nearby.
Your right tower is under attack.
I mean, we definitely could still lose this just because of Loki.
An ally has been slain. Double kill.
That was awesome.
I mean, they're getting super dumpstered in mid.
Your middle tower is
Like,
under attack.
surely we're not losing tier 2 here.
On my way.
He's gonna die before I get there.
Killing spree. Your middle tower is under attack.
Could've just waited, man.
Enemies incoming right.
Has arrived.
The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your middle tower is under attack.
I mean, I don't even want to waste much time on Afro, to be honest with you.
Slain.
He also plays it pretty smart, because he just rotates. Like, he clears the wave, then rotates.
An ally has been slain.
Oops.
Gank middle lane.
Guess I'll just go away. There's no point in me being this far up.
Your right tower is under attack. Attack the Gold Fury.
Attack! Now for the show.
Oh, I pressed the wrong pocket button.
Your left tower is under attack. Enemy ultimate down. Attack the Gold Fury.
Attack the Gold Fury!
Your left tower has been destroyed. Killing spree. Double kill. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Definitely one of those games I feel like we should have lost, but we just aren't because, yeah, they have one guy not being here. But also maybe not. Like maybe if I could have gotten really fed against Bacchus. I don't know though. I still think Rage will probably just shed on my mid and jungle in this one. Or mid and support maybe.
Enemy missing left. Gank right lane. Your right tower is under attack. Double kill. Triple kill. Killing spree.
Outlook is terminal.
Rampage.
My final breath.
Attack fire giant.
Stupid Eastern Sea.
We could just go straight fire. Like I can't TP, but okay, there it is. Yeah, I mean this is just I guess report Bacchus in this one. I don't know what he's doing.
Victory.
Kinda sucks this is my last game today. That was just really unfun and boring. Damn, damn. Because he took his blow, that's crazy. I mean, I still think that sucks. Like, losing blue at level 1 definitely sucks as solo. But going AFK as a result of it is still really silly. Oh well. I'm pretty sure I'm just back where I began today. Didn't really make any progress or lose any progress. At least Rage had double digits, he did. We would definitely have lost if this was a 5v5. I think we're pretty outmatched in jungle. But yeah, just 2-2. Dude, my 2 wins were so boring today. This one as well was just bitch and this Thor running it down. Anyway, I don't actually have time for more, so this is it. Not the most... not the greatest stream, but whatever. It is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.